Ladies and gentlemen, we're ready to talk exchanges. I'm going to welcome your moderator for this session. She is Kate Levchuk. Kate Levchuk is the woman behind KateGoesTech, a futurist and a visionist, also the head of institutional sales for CEX.io. Kate, run, don't walk. She's going to be joined up here by Ruptus Rothenhäuser, who is the chief commercial officer for BitMEX. Here he comes. We welcome Adam Kai. Adam Kai is the CEO of Virgo.co. We welcome Alicia Kao. Alicia Kao is the woman with KuCoin, where she is the managing director. And of course, we cannot forget Alessio Quaglini. He is the co-founder and CEO behind HexTrust right here in Hong Kong. Kate, are you ready?
We are ready.
Then let's do it. Yeah.
Wow, thank you so much. Half of my job has been already done. Everyone is introduced, so I guess you guys are all aware who we are, what we're doing, and why we're here. And I'm sure we will cover more exciting things today as we are talking about, well, actually, yeah. We have here basically 4 centralized exchanges and 1 custodian. So not surprisingly, we will be covering mainly trading and custodian and regulation. So hope it's all relevant to everyone. I recently seen this, it was framed as a meme, but actually it was quite a serious quote in 2017 when the CEO of Credit Suisse mentioned that Bitcoin at $7,000 is the very definition of a bubble. Well, funny that Credit Suisse. Credit Suisse wasn't the only bank to go south due to bad governance, as we all know. There were quite a few more banks that followed the same fate, and quite a few crypto companies that didn't end up in the best possible way. So my first question to our esteemed audience would be, which type of bankruptcies from which industry, whether it were crypto, spearheaded by FTX situation, or recent perturbances with a banking factor for like two months, what impacted you more? Which industry and why? Yeah, I guess that's it. Was it more crypto or banking, and how did you cope with that?
Well, if I may start, there's one very obvious ground rule is you are never protected against fraud. So if you are ending up in a classic bank, in a traditional finance bank, or in a crypto exchange, or in a crypto industry, if you are ending up with people who have nothing else in mind but taking your money away and run, then it's difficult because sometimes you cannot see behind the forehead of these people, and a lot of this business is related on trust, and trust is built over a long period of time, but unfortunately it's lost very fast. And on top of the topic of meeting people with a very bad mind and very bad conscience, you still have mismanagement as well. Yeah? Not necessarily everybody who is falling apart and companies going bankrupt fail because they were bound to fail, because they simply had a very lousy business model or very lousy risk management control system. And the combination of an increased regulatory demand plus unstable business model leads to the failure of various businesses.
Yeah, reputation is being built for years, and it takes a minute to destroy it. Definitely agree. Adam, what affected you more? Was it banking crisis, crypto?
Sure. So Virgo Group is actually a Canadian-based regulated exchanges. So our main business is obviously processing payments in fiat currencies to our customers. And after the collapse of Signature Bank in Silicon Valley, like those banks are probably the most advanced crypto-friendly bank. Signet, right? Everything is so quick to process payments. So after the failure of that, there are a couple of problems emerging. First of all, most of the liquidities we're talking about are from US. So now we're having a much more difficult time to seek for proper liquidities with our US counterparties. That's one thing. So the second thing is central bank does actually process a lot of USD-based wires globally. After central bank collapse, you technically have to find other banking partners being able to entertain USD-based processing. Fortunately enough, in Canada, we have a few crypto-friendly banks we can use as backups. However, now the settlement time is definitely doubled, if not tripled. So every exchanges need to have more liquidities, and also customers have to wait longer to get their money. So in general, the collapse of the banking is detrimental to the fiat to crypto exchanges such as us.
Yeah, same here. So you were saying that you're moving your operations more to Canadian banks, so they're benefiting at the moment, right?
Yeah, most of our processing is Canadian dollars, so we have a few banks that are okay to do with that. However, the liquidities are from US. That's the trouble part.
Alicia, how did it impact KuCoin, if at all?
Okay, so talking about blockchain, I think most of people see blockchain equal to cryptocurrency, but actually, I think blockchain like Bitcoin is not merely represent digital currency. It also represents a groundbreaking payment system. So it actually created for the unsolving problem of the traditional financial industry, and so I think it's about trust, like you said. So we want to enhance the transparency, and it will bring you the trust. So we are now preparing our proof of reserve monthly, and we also upgrade our bug bounty program. The bonus was raised to $1 million, and I think the effect to us is the way we work, and we just reprioritized our tasks. We put more and more efforts and times to communicate with our users to enhance the transparency and to get the trust.
What about custodians? What's happening there?
So maybe let me ignite the converse. Since I'm the only custodian here among all the exchanges, building on my very good friend Rupert's statement that you can never prevent or fight fraud. Actually, it's true that it's very hard to prevent fraud, but you can do something before it happens, right? So. And I think that's really the reason why companies like HexTrust actually exist, right? To segregate the assets that are held, clients' assets from the intermediary that processes transactions for those assets, so that those assets are never in the hands of an intermediary that could commit fraud on those assets. But I mean, we can talk more about that. In terms of the impact that the banking crisis and the crypto crisis had on us. The banking crisis, obviously, it really had an impact on the rails that the whole crypto community built over the last few years. What was built with Signature Bank and Silvergate basically allowed us to do on-ramp and off-ramp very efficiently, to settle transactions 24/7 instantaneously. So it was very convenient, and starting from tomorrow, we will have to start building all these rails again with new financial institutions. So it is a problem, and but it's something that we really have to, as a blockchain community, we really have to work together to solve. On the crypto side, obviously, I think on one side it reinforced, strengthened the role of companies such as custodians that really can decrease the risk for clients that operate in the ecosystem. But at the same time, obviously, it had an impact on lots of our clients, directly and indirectly. So I really hope that that's actually a positive thing, that we can all learn from this crisis, and we can build a better infrastructure in the years to come.
Wow, sounds like we're well prepared for what's coming. And actually, the second question would be about that. Do you expect any more domino effects after the current crisis? And if you do, or if you don't, how are you preparing yourself? Maybe if you could tell us one thing that you've changed as a result of previous situations in crypto and banking.
Well, I mean, it's a little bit hard to say whether the domino effect is over. Actually, when everybody thinks it's over, it's when it's not over. I think we still have lots of companies in the ecosystem that are undercapitalized, and in this market, it's very hard to raise money. So I would expect that we will still continue to see a lower level of liquidity and more companies not being able to generate enough cash flow, and whoever doesn't have a solid balance sheet probably to have problems in the months to come. So that is something that I think we're still in the middle of.
In your opinion, sorry, like in percentage-wise, how much are we over? Like
75%.
Okay, so just a quarter.
Just 25 more, yeah. But in terms of, just to be controversial here, I think one thing that we really changed since what happened in the market in the recent months is our approach to counterparty risk. So we have to evaluate all of our counterparties, liquidity providers and centralized exchanges with a different approach, really thinking about that whatever happened to FTX and to the lending platforms and to some of the major liquidity providers in the market could happen to our counterparties. So in our case, for example, we favor trading with decentralized exchanges more nowadays than with centralized counterparties. And with centralized counterparties, we try to negotiate kind of collateralized deals, or we try to really hedge as much as possible our counterparty risk, even through minimizing settlement or reducing the time to settle trades.
Amazing. And what one thing have you changed?
I pick up that ball. Of course, at BitMEX we have a completely different opinion when it comes to centralized custodian solutions. We very much believe that not our key is not our coin, and only what we hold in our hands is something we have control over. And if you share custodian services, for example, in pooled solutions such as Zodiac, Clearloop, Fidelity, there are various solutions available in the market. It means you add another layer of risk into your business mix. It might be considered a reduction of risk from your client side, but for us as an exchange, it is an additional layer of risk, because if something happens with the third-party partners, we cannot control it, we cannot influence it, and we are simply sitting like a lame duck waiting for what's happening. So from that point of view, we prefer clearly a one-to-one relationship between the customer depositing its funds on our exchange, and that's the easiest way for us to control it.
Well, sounds like our participants are very ready for any situations in the market, very prepared, very regulated. So as for regulation...
Maybe, if I can, let me add one thing on this one. It's true that know your keys, know your assets, but I think the main problem here is that the assets that are on exchange, they shouldn't be the exchange's assets. It should be clients' assets. They are clients' assets, right? The exchange is an intermediary, but the property of the asset should never move from client to an exchange. So in my humble opinion, clients should have a choice on whom to use as a custodian.
Great. So coming back to the question on regulation, what do you think is this golden solution for regulation, if there is any? Do you think, and how far are we from that now? Do you think we need more, less, and in which segments? Alicia, what do you think, where are we in regulation, and what what should be improved to get more people in crypto or more people on exchanges?
So I think the key of the regulations, we are respect like all the governments and the regulations, because it's all about to protect every user's assets. And so I've been I just got back from Paris. Like lots of my friends in Europe, they told me that Switzerland is just like Silicon Valley of Web3 world, because they got a fully regulated solutions for the Web3. So I think for now we are still in a very early stage of the Web3 world. So the key would be to embrace like local regulations of each country, that to try to because we got like diversity of our users, so we want to do like as much as possible to help us user that to get into the crypto industry like more safety and more comfortable. I think that's the key.
Okay, so you think we need to adhere to different local, regional regulations. So what do you think, Adam? Should we do that, or should we have like a global regulation for everyone? What's the ideal scenario would be for Virgo?
Yeah, I think 100%, like every single country is going to have its own regulation. Just to reference to Canada, for example, we are actually one of the restricted dealer with security commissions in Canada. So we are actually one of the 10 licensed platforms in Canada. And the Canadian regulators come out with a consultation paper very similar to FFC back in 2020. And it took literally us 2 years to get to the first license. And to me, I think centralized exchange is no longer going to be a technology company. It's a financial service company, let's put it at least, right? So our current regulatory framework regulates us as a security, very similar to security brokers. So we have to finish financial auditing, we have to have SOC auditing, we have to have AML auditing, we have to have daily reconciliations. So all these frameworks, when I read the FSC consultation paper, it's very similar how Canadian security regulator is doing it. So I think in terms of the regional regulation, 100%, each country will have its own. But in terms of the spirit of where the regulation will go, I think it's globalized. The centralized exchange is going to be a financial service company. You're either becoming an ATS or you're becoming a broker. I think that's definitely the trend.
I think the way of regulation within the digital world is unstoppable, right? It's going to happen, and it's good that it's going to happen. It will bring safety, security, and trust into the ecosystem.
And hopefully more clients for us.
Hopefully more clients as well. But Kate, if you want to bridge the gap between the traditional finance world and the digital world, it can only go via regulated entities. Non-regulated bank, no asset manager regulated, no financial institution, no insurance company, no alternative investment fund. Nobody regulated is going to engage with unregulated counterparties. They simply cannot because of their rule book. So if you want to tap into, look the total pie we're talking about in the crypto world, it's, sorry to say, meaningless if you compare it to the big traditional finance world with trillions and trillions of dollars in assets under management. This is the pie we want to tap into. And you can only get into this access if you are a regulated organization, because you want to get into the banks, you want to get into these insurance companies, you want to get into these big money asset pots, and that only works if you're regulated.
We know China has banned crypto in 2013 fully, even though there is lately some interest in Hong Kong market, apparently. El Salvador actually did the opposite, and they accepted Bitcoin as legal tender in 2021. What's the way forward? Which government, in your opinion, is doing best when it comes to regulation and crypto policy in general? Alicia, maybe you have some insights on the government. Your favorite government crypto policy ever? That's a trick question.
I think we respect the decision of local governments. I think, like, basically, I think every local government, they're just doing things they're just trying to protect their people, right? So I don't know. I think the whole industry is dynamic, and as I mentioned, my friends told me that Switzerland got a fully regulated solution for the Web3 industry, which I respect. But I didn't have any chance to experience the local market. So for now, I think I'm just observing, and also we just invested a local exchange, compliance exchange in Hong Kong. So I think, like, there are lots of new opportunities for us. So let's just see.
So your favorite is Hong Kong.
Yes.
Your favorite crypto policy, Hong Kong in the world?
Yeah, because I'm right now in Hong Kong.
Okay, great. That makes sense. And yours, Adam? Just one country.
Yeah, like I think I'm a little bit personal biased. I think Canadian regulatory regime is pretty friendly. We have clear guidance on how to run a centralized exchange since 2021. And Canada actually approved the crypto ETF, actually earlier than Hong Kong. And it does actually provide you a very clear guidance, giving you some kind of a room to talk with regulators, to educate regulators what we want to do business on. I think they're compromising a way that they want to understand what you do, unlike SEC, trying to really shut the door for a lot of companies. So I think Canadian market is not that big, it's not massive. However, in terms of incubating compliant blockchain companies, it does become one of the hub, from the global standpoint.
Amazing. Will we get some country where we are not based? Anyone, Rupertus? Anything exotic?
I'm not sure. I mean, the El Salvador example is an interesting, partially funny story. Basically, the weaker your home currency is, your own fiat currency, the higher the likelihood is that you look for alternative payment solutions. El Salvador selected Bitcoin. I see very much where our customer flow comes from. And you can see there is a lot of activity coming out of markets with a relatively weak home currency. So people want to protect their wealth. The moment they get their monthly salaries, they convert their salary from, I don't want to mention any currency names now, but they convert it instantly into Bitcoin or into crypto because they trust the currency value of Bitcoin more than the home currency. Now, if you talk to somebody who gets euros, US dollars, or renminbi yuan, I don't think there is a highly interest from large governments in softening their own currency and even grant alternative payment solutions apart from their own central bank money, because at the end of the day, the local central bank is responsible for the stability of the currency. Now, this is the whole vicious circle why cryptocurrency exists. Yeah? Do we believe central banks do a great job and my dollar is worth $1 tomorrow and my euro is worth €1 tomorrow? Or is my money getting worth less and less and less because of decisions done by governments and central banks? And I think I can do my personal wealth better by managing my funds in an alternative currency such as Bitcoin. That's the whole story. Will there be large governments in the next foreseeable time using cryptocurrencies as alternative strong currency parallel to the home currency? I doubt it very much.
Great. Okay, so weak currency countries are doing great, strong currency countries doing great, Canada is doing great, Hong Kong's doing great, everyone is amazing. I guess you love all countries as well, right?
If I have to pick one today, I would probably pick the UAE, and in particular Dubai.
We got a straightforward answer. Bravo.
Yes. And for a couple of very simple reasons. So the first one is that they decided to write the regulation from scratch. So they didn't try to really adapt what they already have in terms of securities, regulations, etc., and build in some additional rules for cryptocurrencies, for utility tokens, for security tokens. They just started from scratch, and they wrote it recently already with having in mind how the market infrastructure and structure should look like. And the second reason is that they didn't just write the regulation from scratch, but they also created a new regulator from scratch. So the authority in Dubai didn't exist before, so it's a new group of people that was chosen and appointed to regulate a new space. So usually when you start from scratch, you don't have to really live with the legacy that other regulators have to live with. And I think it's been very, very effective.
The same way the Dubai regulators or the UAE regulators started their regulatory approach from scratch and didn't have to deal with the legacy of the past. That's the same applies for new banks popping out of nothing and creating their core banking systems on blockchain in order to be able to work, settle, trade, pay new digital assets. If you look at the core banking systems of the traditional finance world, it's going to take them 20 years to modernize their technology because the systems are simply not made up for the digital space. And that's why these new banks, equally to the new regulators, are attracting a lot of business, especially from young people who are trying to do their own financial services using effective, cheap, and automatic solutions with new banks.
Okay, well, everyone make sure to check out all these governments and jurisdictions, and definitely UAE, good beaches there as well. I guess everyone here is quite interested in what's happening in America. I read somewhere that around 75% of all digital assets are owned in Northern America, so Canada and US. I don't know if that's true, that's quite a lot. But if it is true, it's especially interesting and maybe a little bit worrying what's going on with the US right now, and they're cracking down on different payment rails. So I guess we're all really anxious to know what's going to happen and what is next with US. What is your opinion? What is happening with America, and how are you preparing for various eventualities with American regulation in crypto? Alicia, are you preparing somehow? What are your thoughts? What's happening in the US?
Yeah, I think as I said, like every government, they are just trying to protect their people, but not every government already have a perfect solutions, and I don't know if they when they will have a perfect solution, and if there is, I don't think it happens like right now. So what we do is we embrace the local governments, like the regulations, and we do keep putting lots of efforts on compliance things. Like they are just one of the local governments, though. So I don't think we have any particular strategy on that.
Got you. Adam, you have Canada, so whatever happens in the US, you're fine, right?
The only thing I want to say is there are a few facts that the US government have done. Recently, they shut down staking services, found big money to Kraken. Coinbase is fighting with them. And also, the SEC chair essentially called everything other than Bitcoin is very likely to be securities. And also, I think the US government is shutting down the crypto-friendly banks. So I think the actions they have been taking is a little bit aggressive. So my hope is, first of all, our security regulators are not going to follow what the SEC is doing, right? I think SEC is very powerful on a global stage. We want to make sure that our country, Australia, or the rest of the world does not get that message and follow. That's the first thing. And the second thing I think we have to prepare is Now, the regulator is smart enough trying to define each business line you're operating. So they want to regulate you no matter what you're doing, staking, contract trading, what tokens you're listing. So you want to look at every single perspective, how you run business. So that's really getting us into a point that we have to make sure each service we provided is compliant. So that does increase the cost of running a business and also potentially reduce the profitabilities. But that's just what we're at right now.
Okay, so I'm quite interested to know also I guess the differences as well. How both custodians and exchanges, what are you guys investing in? How do you innovate to be relevant in 5 years' time? I imagine those are quite different things for different market participants. So Alessio, what are you investing in right now to be with us in 5 years?
I think what we've learned in the past few months is really relevant for this question. So we've learned that a system that is permissionless, that is decentralized, actually works better in several occasions than a centralized system. So for us as a custodian, we want to do what we can to enable that kind of transformation. Really go back to what blockchain meant at the beginning. So for us, for our clients, we want to enable our clients to safekeep their assets. If they want, with a centralized custodian, basically giving access to their private keys to the custodians, or to be self-custodied with an institutional grade platform provided by a custodian. At the same time, we want our clients to be able to access financial services that are already available on the blockchain without having to rely on centralized intermediaries. You mentioned Kraken, right? The staking settlement for Kraken. I don't see that one as a staking service. That is a lending service, and then the centralized exchange takes the money and maybe puts the assets in a staking node. But we want to enable direct staking. We want to enable clients to use their assets in custody or in self-custody to access the service directly on chain. We want to enable our clients to access decentralized exchanges. We want our clients to be able to access directly on-chain lending and borrowing platforms. So I think that's where the investment of custodians is right now. And in terms of what needs to happen, I think there's still a big gap in making these services as simple as the services that are provided by centralized institutions. Right now, probably, if you want to really trade on a DEX or lend and borrow from a decentralized platform, you have to have an IT background. You really need to know how these wallets work, and it's very complex. So there's still a lot of work in terms of infrastructure, safety, as well as UX, UI, if we want to bridge this gap, and that's what we're focusing on.
So a lot into non-custodial staking and...
We are investing heavily in tech. That's our core business. I mean, the function, it was mentioned before, the function of an exchange is the matching between two orders and the post-trade of such a transaction. And it's all about technology. The biggest market makers, high-frequency traders on this planet trade on BitMEX. They are very demanding. They are asking on a constant basis, can you speed up that process? Can you make this a little faster? Can you make this a little bit cheaper? And at the end of the day, it's a bit of a race between the exchanges in order of who runs the fastest machine room, who has to stay without giving up security measures. I mean, I guess a lot of crypto exchanges could be faster in the execution, but you would gain that asset an advantage at the cost of security. And since we are not interested in increasing the risk level, we are investing in a faster, more reliable stability of our platform in order to keep our clients happy.
So would you say you invest in infrastructure and AI and algorithms, right?
We do not invest into AIs. Our customers do, but for us as an exchange, there is no need to invest into AI technology.
So you won't be integrating ChatGPT anywhere, just here. Are you guys playing with this for your companies? Anything interesting, Adam?
I think ChatGPT can be a good tool to service a customer. Using a customer service tool is pretty nice.
Bots, right? The chatbots.
I think we all know that the collapse of the bank system will accelerate decentralization. So as a centralized exchange, how we could do, we have already built our own decentralized wallet to fulfill the needs for the user who wants to keep their assets on chain. We also have our Bitcoin mining pool to support those Bitcoin miners who got a great contribution for the whole ecosystem. And besides the infrastructure around the KuCoin exchange, we also adjusted our investment strategy, like the real investment thing, to the infrastructure and like the data layer, zero knowledge. So I think we are looking for build a greater ecosystem for the decentralization. So if you know like any great projects, I think we could invest some.
Amazing. Well, good to know you guys have enough money to invest in all of these technologies and industries, so that's great. I feel good for crypto for now. Personally, I've been in crypto for a little bit over a year, and it actually feels like it's a quite mature market. Like, look at us here, quite a lot of people in all the conferences, and more traditional finance people, banking people are moving in here in crypto. So definitely, it's moving a lot. It's been quite a few years, so the industry is around. But I think, as we also mentioned here, crypto is just about 2% of S&P 500. So it's, like 50 times smaller than S&P 500. It's just 7% of all the gold market cap. And I think it's just 1/500th of all the private global wealth. So we are nowhere near the saturation. We're still actually very much in the beginning, the development. So I would say we're all definitely at the right place, at the right time, in the right industry. And with such experts like here, I feel absolutely confident that we are moving in the right direction and we will be growing the industry together. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and hope to chat to all of you later about amazing things we're all doing. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.